Good day, everyone. So, to continue with my previous discussion about the general management practices of dairy cattle production. So, for now, we go on to the next topic, which is yung mga different management practices pa din. So, first one is yung cattle identification. Okay. So, etong practice na to, this is very important for management purposes and of course to denote ownership. So ito yung pinaka-common na method para ma-identify at ma-register kung kaninong baka yung binebenta or yung inaalagaan. And one way of doing this is through branding. So ito yung merong bakal na nakalagay sa uling or sa apoy. Then after that, ididikit dito sa katawan na just like in the picture. And I know this is very common na para sa inyo. So bakit kailangan pala to? Ano kaya yung purpose? Mainly, this is being done para properly registered yung mga animals natin and dapat yung owner itself should create kung anong brand ang ilalagay. So definitely ang common dito na ginagamit ay mga initials or mga numbers and pinaka-common na pinaglalagyan dito is on the animal's left na foreleg. However, uh, yung paglalagay naman ng ear tags or yung ear notches, other effective way din also for dairy cattle identification. But this is usually being done pag maramihan na yung baka. Kumbaga, semi to commercialized na farm na. Pero pag backyard lang naman, okay na tong branding. So usually, etong mga ear tags tsaka ear notches, eto yung nakikita natin when it comes sa mga farm. So usually pag kung dito sa dairy farm tayo nakafocus, dito tayo sa ear tags tsaka ear notches kasi syempre there are a lot of animals that we need to identify. So mas okay na tong ear tags tsaka ear notches. So that is one general management practice sa mga racers natin. Now next one, although this is not really common, pero may mga iba na gumagawa to. So we have yung dehorning. Pero etong dehorning, usually this is being done and this is being recommended only sa mga large-scale operation. So very important to when it comes sa mga dairy animals natin to facilitate yung handling and management ng mga animals. Kaya kino-consider din to as a sophisticated practice in cattle raising. Kasi ginagawa lang naman to for some reasons. Just like for example, pag nag-dehorning ka and you are in a large scale operation, then walang sagabal, there will be a lesser space in the feedlots. Yun yung isang reason. Then also, pag nag-transport ka ng animal, no, pag nag-transport ka ng baka to one place to another, lesser space din kasi usually ang nagpapalawak ng space ay dahil sa mga sungay. And ano pa ba? More uniform in appearance. Pero yung pinaka-deeper na reason kasi dito is to avoid injuries and yung harm sa animals. And of course, sa nag-aalaga kasi alam naman natin that there are some animals na aggressive and they usually use yung horns nila as a weapon. So minsan nagkakaroon ng fighting din sa mga animal. So doon nagkakaroon ng injuries. Kaya to lessen this scenario, lalo na pag maramihan yung inaalagaan mo, then it is recommended for you to do the dehorning. Pero take note, mas maganda na mag-dehorning ka habang bata pa yung animal. Kasi syempre pag bata pa, mas easy yung pag-handle mo sa situation. Kasi syempre masakit yan. Kaya magiging aggressive yung animal. Okay? The next one, we have the castration. And just like from the horning, castration among our dairy cattle natin ay hindi rin gaano usual na pinaperform to. Pero if gagawin man to, it is recommended na i-castrate ang mga male animals when they are still young. So sa mga dairy cattles natin, based from the reference na nakita ko, around 7 months old or younger para mas okay pa i-castrate. Just like sa baboy na mas okay na younger age pa lang yung piglets tsaka mo i-castrate kesa sa mas matanda na. And usually, just like sa piglets din, merong dalawang way of castrating yung mga animals natin. So we have the slit or cap method. So this is yung surgical method. Okay? Yung common na ginagawa natin sa mga piglets. However, meron ding bloodless method wherein gagamit ka ng Bortizo, pinchers, or emasculators. Just like from the photo in the screen. Pero of course, mas masakit to. Okay? And take note pala, uh, that castration tends to decrease yung live weight gain by around 15 to 20%. Kaya usually hindi ito ginagawa as a general management practice among the dairy cattle animals natin. Ginagawa na lang to if there is a difficulty na in separating males and females na animals. Okay? Just like for example, inadequate yung fencing or there is only limited availability ng pasture products, then that is the time na magkakaroon ng option yung racer to do this one. Okay? Pero sa mga dairy animals naman natin, kung titingnan natin to, usually kapag, lalo na kumbaga yung practice sa New Zealand, sa mga dairy farms, kapag lalaki, yung naipanganak na baka, no? Usually tinatanggal na kaagad yan. Okay? Ang nire-remain na lang nila sa farm is yung mismong mga babae kasi yun lang naman talaga yung needed. Kasi for milk production. Kasi meron naman ng nakaantabay na breeding bull. So they do not need that male animal anymore. Okay? So kung titignan natin yung castration, hindi usually na common na general management practice sa mga dairy farm animals natin. Okay? Now, another management practice na usually hindi naman ito common since kukonti lang din yung occurrence nito or bihira lang na mangyari to. So we do have the removal of supernumerary teats. So pag sinabi natin na supernumerary teats, ito yung if may sobra sa teats niya. Okay? Although this is not advised to do it, pero as one management practice din, pwede natin gawin to since wala namang value etong extra teeth na to. And it could also may interfere din later on sa milking. Okay? And this should be removed if may napansin kayo when the calves are usually 1 month to 2 months of age. So ganito yung pagtanggal ng supernumerary teats. Ito yung supernumerary teats. The next management practice is yung record keeping. So self-explanatory naman na to kasi this is usually being done even not only for dairy animals but also with other farm animals, no? So I will just discuss here yung importance of this one in the production itself. Okay? So for record keeping, we all know naman na most of the farmers or the animal raisers, specifically for dairy animal raisers, na hindi nila ito ginagawa or hindi common na ginagawa ng mga nag-aalaga, lalo na sa mga backyard farms natin. Pero if you are really directly focused doon sa iyong mga animals in terms of selection and culling, then this management practice is very significant. Okay? Kasi it says here that through record keeping, it increases the breeder's knowledge of animal differences and thus increases the accuracy of selection. So tinutulungan nito yung animal raiser for him to decide kung anong animal yung magre-retain within the herd and kung anong animal yung makakal. Kaya parang ang pinaka-main point or pinaka-main objective ng record keeping is to alleviate the genetic supremacy among the animals. So of course, through selection, yung mga animals na may superior traits, sila ang magre-retain. So definitely mas maganda yung magiging production kasi yung mga magaganda and performing na animals yung natira sa mismong herd. Okay? So for example, meron tayong tatlong uh, dairy cattle. So based from our records, si cow A, it usually give birth every year and yung offspring niya ay 120 kilogram pag nawalay na siya or the weaning period. Si cow B naman, nanganganak siya ng dalawang baka for every 3 years and the weaning weight is 125 kilogram. Then for cow C, it gives birth every 2 years and the weaning weight for the calves ay in average 123 kilograms. Now, the question here is kung saang baka yung makakal dito based from our records. So just pause this video and try to answer before I will give my answer for this one. Try to internalize kung ano yung ikakal ninyo dito. Okay. So definitely, ang answer dyan is si cow C ang ikakal natin. Bakit? Kasi nanganganak lang siya every 2 years. And if we compare it to the other two, nanganganak sila for every year, then si cow B ay for every 1.5 year. So doon pa lang, no? Doon pa lang, talo na. Talo na si cow C. Although mas mataas yung weaning weight ng calf, pero no? Pero yung pagkakaroon ng offspring naman talo siya. So based from our records, if we choose from them to be called, definitely we choose the C. So based from here, nakikita na natin yung importance ng record keeping. Pero of course, hindi lang naman dito yung basehan natin. Pwede din yung if yung mga heifers ay hindi masyadong nag-gain ng weight, then wag nang gawing breeder. Gawin na lang as fattener. Or yung mga bulls na may undesirable na hereditary na traits, kumbaga may hernia, then you will just cull it para hindi na dagdag gastos pa sa production cost. Okay? So that is the importance of record keeping. So tinutulungan tayo for the selection and culling process. Then last one, we have the age determination through dentition. It should be dairy cattle animals to, hindi beef cattle. Dentition na tinatawag natin. So, mahalaga itong practice na so kasi as I have said kanina, usually ang mga farmers or yung mga animal raisers, hindi pa gaano ginagamit ang record keeping. And sana doon sa record keeping, if kumbaga nag-purchase ka ng stocks for breeding stocks sa farm mo from another raiser and you would want kung gaano nakatanda yung animal na binili mo, they cannot provide an accurate answer for that. Kaya usually, ang isang way para gawin ito is through dentition. So we determine the age of the animals through this method. So based from the picture, these are some of the bases in determining the age of the animals. More specifically sa mga cattle natin. So just pause this video and just try to assess na lang kung ano yung nasa picture. So eto naman yung dentition when it comes sa dairy goat tsaka dairy sheep. Ito yung magiging basis natin if they are 1-year-old hanggang maging 4-year-old. Okay, now we move to the last topic with this chapter, which is on the health management. Although I have already discussed nung sa unang parte, yung mismong biosecurity protocols, but then just to add no, so when we say health management, of course This typically focuses on the concept wherein there is a preventive na veterinary care among the animals. So syempre, nagfo-focus ito sa treatment or medication of individual animals, including the care and management of the entire herd. So for the herd health management scheme for dairy animals natin, it usually consists of six, no? It usually consists of six important aspects of the general disease prevention procedure. So we have the strict quarantine program, the early diagnosis of a disease, sanitation, good recording system, provision of physical facilities, and then the judicious use of drugs and biologicals. So let's try to interpret it one by one. Okay, so first is the strict quarantine program. So pag sinabi natin strict quarantine program, usually it falls or it includes yung proper na disinfection ng mga sasakyan na pumapasok sa farm, proper din na disinfection also from the individuals na pumapasok and eventually yung mga animals. So etong aspect na to is connected na sa proper and strict na biosecurity measures. Okay, ano ba yung importance nito? Usually, sa other farms, just like what I have experienced sa first job ko, talagang strictly followed yung biosecurity measures. So hindi ka makakapasok, no? Hindi makakapasok yung vehicle sa loob ng farm if hindi madidisinfect yung mga gulong. As well as hindi maliligo yung mga sakay nito. So kailangan bago ka makapasok sa farm, maliligo ka. And at the same time, magpapalit ka ng damit and slippers. Ganun ang strict na biosecurity. Kasi once na nakapasok ang isang sakit sa farm mo, mahirap na. Mahirap nang i-control, lalo na if deadly yung sakit na nakapasok. So paano naman sa mga animals? Usually dito, just like sa tao, kumbaga, in relation to COVID-19, once na pumasok ka sa isang lugar, lalo na noong medyo laganap yung COVID-19, once na pumasok ka sa isang lugar at galing ka sa isang lugar, you need to quarantine yourself. Ganon din sa animals dapat. If nag-purchase ka ng stocks, no? If nag-purchase ka ng stocks coming from a different location, bago mo ihalog-bilo yung animals, kailangan mag-quarantine muna sila. Meaning, there is a certain separate place for them muna. And usually, ang quarantine period, it should last. Yung ideal one, it should last around 1 month or 30 days. Okay? So that is one way for the strict quarantine program. Ano pa ba yung other instances from this one? We have yung if may sakit yung animal, so pag may sakit na, it is better to isolate it para ma-stop na yung cycle ng disease. Okay? Then ano pa ba? Proper na disposal ng mga wastes or proper disposal ng dead animals if meron. Okay? So that is another one. Then next one, we have the early diagnosis of a disease. So dito usually kailangan as a raiser, as early as possible, you need to detect the disease infection already among your animals. So this is a very important principle in any veterinary medical program. However, most often, yung mga dairy animal raisers natin, medyo nahihirapan sila to detect the presence of an infection sa early stage, lalo na if the animals are indigenous, yung mga native. Since they are usually known for being resistant to some infections, so meaning they do not usually show any clinical manifestations until the advanced stage of the disease. So kailangan, if you are handling around kumbaga 100 to 200 na multiple na sire herds, a regular once a day na thorough inspection should be done. Okay? So dito sa nakalagay na figure, This illustrates now the interrelationship of factors in disease occurrence. So kung mapapansin ninyo, there are extrinsic tsaka intrinsic na factors. Okay? So pag extrinsic, outside the management practices na factors na to, na pwedeng maging reason for the disease occurrence. So we have intensive production, yung confinement nila, the shipment kung saan, as what I've discussed sa unang part ng aspect nito, na if di mo i-quarantine yung animal, then pwedeng from its shipment, doon nakakuha ng disease. Or pwede din from the management change or climatic change. That is why it is very important yung quarantine period para makapag-adjust pa yung animal. Kasi hindi naman the same yung climate sa isang lugar at saka within the locality kung saan sila mapupunta. Okay. Now what about intrinsic factors? So this typically concerns now about the management practices of the raisers. So pwedeng isang great factor dito is the nutrition of the animal. So poor nutrition siya. May pagkukulang when it comes to feeding. Okay, may intoxication. Just like for example, sorry. Just like for example, yung ipil-ipil, no? Yung ipil-ipil leaf meal. Kumbaga masyado mong pinakain yung animal. And alam naman natin that if nasobrahan yung pagpapakain ng ipil-ipil, may toxic content, which is the mimosine, na pwedeng maging cause ng intoxication. So, pwedeng magka-diarrhea yung animals, and if that is a very serious one now, pwedeng maging cause ng kanyang pagkamatay. Now, until the incubation period of the disease causing organisms, so nandiyan yung mga virus, bacteria, fungus, and even the parasites. So pwedeng external, pwedeng internal lang din, no? Mas malala na pag internal parasites na yan. And then hanggang may manifestation na ng clinical signs, no? So kumbaga sa foot and mouth disease, which is a very common disease sa mga ruminants natin, sa mga dairy animals natin, specifically sa cattle. And then ang nagiging cause is the virus. So pag merong clinical signs na, like nagkakaroon ng blisters sa paa nila or even sa mouth, then may salivation and lameness na, then that is one clinical sign already for you to detect the animal which is being infected with FMD. Okay? Then after that, it is also important to consider the sanitation or basically the cleanliness sa farm. Kasi this is being included here in health management kasi ang sanitation that is being considered as the core of the health program. So parang ito yung isa sa mga foundations for a successful health program sa mga animals. Kasi of course, if malinis ang environment, malinis ang farm, then definitely mas lesser yung chance na magkaroon ng disease occurrence. Kasi gaya nga ng sabi ng iba, no drug or no medicine can substitute for proper hygienic measures. Okay? The next one is the good recording system. So nandito na naman yung record keeping. Kaya tignan ninyo kung gaano kaimportante itong management practice na to. Kasi sa record keeping, hindi lang naman performance ng animal yung nandito. Of course, that would include yung general health status ng mga animals. Then susunod is the provision of physical facilities. So ano tong mga to? So we have yung handling chutes, pag magkakaroon ka ng medication as well as yung isolation corrals. If may nagkasakit na animal or if may judicious use of drugs na or and biologicals. Okay? So parang aside from that one, kailangan meron ka ding isolation corrals para gamitin mo pag may pinurchase ka na animal outside your locality. Now, for the judicious use ng drugs and biologicals, bakit judicious? Kasi may mga racers na hindi fina-follow kung ano yung nasa veterinary prescription. That is why a rule of thumb, palaging tatandaan na for drug usage, it is a must to strictly follow veterinary prescriptions and yung dosage rate. And for biologicals, always consider yung recommendation na nandoon sa label. Okay, now we move forward to the next health management which is on the endoparasite control. So pag sinabi natin na endoparasite, so sa loob na, no, sa loob na ng katawan ng animal. So usually dito, it is very important to understand this management kasi most of the economic losses ng isang dairy production ay dahil sa mga gastrointestinal parasitism na kung saan nagkukos ito ng mortality and even sa morbidity losses when it comes sa production ng milk if nagpapasuso yung animal. Okay? Dahil din dito kung bakit susceptible din ang mga animals na to in different diseases. So based from the figure dito, this is the life cycle of a common gastrointestinal nematode sa katawan ng cattle para maintindihan ninyo kung paano nagkakaroon ito. And then next one, we have the plant poisoning. So dito naman, there are some parts of the country na usually meron etong mga poisonous plants that are really toxic to the animals, no? However, ang isang mahirap dito is it is difficult really to detect if the animal has been poisoned from the plants. Kasi mostly some of the symptoms of it are also the same with the other diseases of cattle. Kaya for you to avoid this to happen, no, mas better na lang na you will be familiar with the different plants that are really poisonous sa mga cattle natin, of which I will try to give you a handout for this one. Now, there are various effects of these poisonous plants on the dairy animals. However, for these symptoms, usually it depends doon sa toxin content nito. Okay? So, some of which is sudden death. Pag masyadong marami yung nakain ng animal, pwede ding gastrointestinal disorders or locomotory syndromes. Ito is yung nagkakaroon ng abnormal na body movement yung mga animals. Then pwede din yung photosensitization. So sensitive yung animal sa light. And good example for that is yung hypericompulogense. Okay? So then pwede ding magkaroon ng skin lesions and urinary disorder. And take note that plant poisoning can only be treated if the toxin is identified. Okay? And antidotes can be given as treatments for this. So ang cardinal rule dito for plant poisoning para maiwasan ito is to remove the animals or the herd mismo from that place wherein it is suspected that the poisonous plants are growing there. Kasi mas mabuti nang magkaroon ng prevention kaysa mag-act tayo if the animal is being infected na. Okay? Okay, we have the last one, which are the effectiveness of vaccination program prior to 4 months of age that may be compromised with maternal antibodies. So dahil dito sa colostrum na kung saan inintake nila during their young age pa lang, kaya dapat the timing of initial vaccinations should be varied depending on the passive immunity status of the calves and the health status of the herd. However, the selection of vaccines should be made in consultation, of course, with the veterinarian using the following criteria. Yung incidence of the disease, the potential cause of the disease, the cause of the vaccine, and then the effectiveness of the vaccine. So bakit may effectiveness of the vaccine? Kasi there are some factors that could compromise this one, including yung improper na storage or administration, and of course, the use of disinfectants to clean yung mga syringes. Also, kumbaga, the administration ng antibiotics or other drugs at the same time could manipulate now or could diminish the immune response ng vaccine. Now, about the control of parasites, no, both internal and external, this is usually possess no a special concern during this period, and usually susceptibility to parasites is highest at a young age. So of course, if the heifers are being loaded with parasites, this would cause up a decrease or decline in their feed efficiency, and of course may develop diarrhea or even anemia. And one good example for that is yung coccidiosis as a common internal parasite among dairy heifers. So ang nangyayari is nagkakaroon ng diarrhea yung mga animals and could have an impaired feed efficiency since yung oocytes from these parasitic organisms are ingested and penetrate doon sa gut, no, doon sa GIT tract ng animals natin. So as the life cycle of the organism now progresses, yung damage will extend doon sa kanilang GIT, which doon nagkakos ng bloody diarrhea, ng anemia, and even yung weakness nila. Okay? So that's it. This will be the last slide of my discussion right now. So this partially ends my presentation. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have learned something on the topics I have discussed. Thank you very much.